I watched Delisation Dungeon and Freerun, and I loved them both, so it was only a matter of time before I start hearing about Witch Hat Atelier. And it was different with Witch Hat Atelier because the anime hasn't come out as of the recording of this video, and people were still hyping it up even though it doesn't have an anime. I'm mainly an anime guy these days, and it would really take some convincing for me to start a manga, but the way people were clamoring about Witch Hat Atelier being that series, and the way people also put it alongside Freerun and Delisation Dungeon as the base fantasy story, I had no choice but to start Witch Hat Atelier, and I have some thoughts on the story. But before you go further into the video, please make sure to hit the like button, and without further ado, let's get back into the video. Witch Hat Atelier starts with this girl Coco who wants to be a witch but can't be one because you need to be born into a family of witches to be a witch, or so we're told. She encounters a witch named Kifri who came to visit Coco's and her mom's shop, and after some events she witnesses by picking on Kifri how to draw seals because that's how magic works in this world. And after Kifri leaves, she casts a spell from a book that she received from some shady person when she was very little, and that spell turns Coco's mom into a stone statue thing. And Coco from that point on, with the help of Kifri, is set on learning and becoming a witch in order to save her mom. The premise, I found it to be very simple and solid. It does the job it needs to do. The first chapter sets the story very well, but the one thing that stood out to me more than anything else is the art style. It's so unique and beautiful, and is one of the reasons I started reading the manga before the anime came out, because this art style I don't think could be replicated well into an anime format. And from the trailers I've seen from Witch Hat Atelier, that sort of seems to be the case. But I digress. After the whole ordeal with Coco turning her mom into a witch, we are set on the journey of Coco learning magic, and this aspect of the story is so good because of the magic system. The magic system in Witch Hat Atelier is a hard magic system where the magic system is well defined, and when you see Coco diving into this world of magic and see her learn, it is very satisfying because we see her using her brain and connecting dots to overcome different hurdles that she faces. My favorite instance of this was when Agathe tricked Coco into taking the first test when it was very difficult at that point in time to pass. Coco is faced with an insurmountable obstacle in front of her, but she uses her tailoring experience and passes the first test. It was such a good part of the story, and seeing Agathe's surprised face was also satisfying after Coco passed that test. Speaking of Agathe, her character progression is really good throughout the story. We get introduced to her as Coco's roommate who is cold to her and who also resents the fact that an outsider like Coco who didn't work and sacrifice as much as her came into the atelier, and she might come off as an unlikable character in the process. But the journey of her into becoming a genuine good friend of Coco's was heartwarming and done exceptionally well. After Coco passed the first test and proved Agathe wrong, I thought Agathe would have a change of heart there and then, but I'm really appreciative that it took multiple instances of them interacting, and Coco's uplifting positive energy, tenacity, and enthusiasm for magic she has slowly won over Agathe. This story does drama so well. The arc where they went to the city of Calm for the first time and Coco encounters the Brim Hat that gave her the spellbook, that panel was insane when the Brim Hat was just staring at Coco outside the window, and then Coco chases after him, and Tatia, Richie, and Agathe also follow along and get trapped into some sort of labyrinth with a dragon. And the way Tatia blamed Coco and also the way Agathe bluntly tells Coco that it was her fault, I found those scenes to be very dramatic in a good way, and I love the way Tatia said things right by saying she was scared so she took it out on her and that she should have looked out for her because she was her senior. I like that she apologized. I love that this story has a dramatic side to it and it's not all happy-go-lucky magic learning story. And I don't know if the mangaka of this story was a teacher before, but there are many profound good tips in what makes a good teacher in this story. I especially liked in one of the instances when Kifre told Coco that if she is anxious just learned something and need to get better as quickly as possible, that the solution is to make whatever you want to get good at part of your daily life. And there are many such good tips in this story. Also, when Agatha and Richie were taking the second test with Winnie, and we see how terrible Winnie's teacher was, and his teacher is almost exactly the opposite of Kifre, Roigo, and Daleria, and it just tells you that kindness and understanding of the fact that people learn at different rates and accommodating them is very important. If a person is out there who wants to be a teacher out there, I'd recommend them Witch Hat Atelier, because this story has many good messages regarding it. My favorite from the teachers is Kifre. I like how he appears as this teacher who is hiding something in the first couple of chapters of the story. It makes him feel ominous and not quite trustworthy, even if we've seen him have many wholesome moments with the kids. And I love that it got clarified where he stands in all this, where in chapters 37 and 38 it highlights the relationship of Kifre and Coco. Kifre is not a teacher who would risk his students to advance his own goals, where we see that when he goes to save Coco from the treacherous third test where she was going to be attacked by the water creature. And I really like that. And my favorite from the four girls is Coco. Her enthusiasm for magic is so infectious and it just wants to make you explore this world with her. I like the inner conflict she goes through, her not being able to deal with people who want to be witches or people whose lives would be way easier had they known magic, and her grappling with that fact is so compelling to follow. And another one of my favorite moments in the story with her is when they came to the city of Calm for the second time, I believe, and she meets Tartar, the boy who has silver wash, which is a disease that gives everything that he sees a silvery sheen, so he can't grow spells due to the fact that he can't see colors properly. And Coco helps him by using the Warbreaker seal, which was the seal that helped the girls turn wall into sand during the labyrinth arc, and by reversing it she gave an idea to Tartar and he perfects that seal and he too becomes a proper witch, and those sequence of events was just so good. Another one of my favorite is Richie. Before we got her character arc, she seemed a chill, laid-back character until we got a glimpse of her character when she adamantly was against learning new magic. That took me by surprise when she first showed that attitude, and then we get to the arc where she and Agatha are taking the second test, and her character development in that arc was just superb. Also, her and Yuini's relationship, I find it to be done really well. Yuini whines and cries a lot and might come up as a bit of annoying, but him seeing Richie and her crazy confidence, like using her own spell to cross the rod bridge, and her motivating him to find a way to use his own magic since he has social anxiety and can't do it in front of people, made me like both of them more. Also, the romantic undertone that seems to be alluded to when he turned into a wolf and runs to shade off his scales so that she could touch him, that sequence was beautiful. And then we have Agatha. As I said before, her character development is the best in the story. Obviously, at first she is very antagonistic, so she comes off a bit unlikable, and also it didn't help in the labyrinth arc when she bluntly berates Coco and she didn't even apologize. But we see her change, like when Costas was stuck by the riverside and needed saving, and Coco goes courageously down the cliff to help him and she pulls it off. And when the Knights Morales came to wipe out Coco's memories and she stands up to them for Coco, we see glimpses of her changing, and I love the fact that her change is done slowly and it crescendos in the Silver Eve arc when she gives a dejected Coco advice. Also, when she helps her showcase to the citizens the magic tool she made so that it becomes more appealing to the people so that they would raise their flags. The character progression of Agatha is really done well and I love it. And then we have Tatia. For me, I feel like she's the one that has gotten the least development from the girls, hence why she's my least favorite from the four. Not that I dislike her, but I prefer Agatha, Coco, and Richie before her. I liked her interaction with the prince and him saying something to the likes of witches and average people can't be friends, and her being rattled by that statement. Hope that gets expanded upon. But one thing about the story that has really piqued my interest, or maybe even my favorite thing about the story, is the moral question that is on the front foot of the story. The philosophy philosophical battle going on in Witch Hat Atelier. The fact that multiple magic was outlawed because of ill use, which caused a lot of wars, chaos and mayhem in the past, and the fact that a rule was set to mitigate that, but also the rules are flawed. Witches have the ability to teach non-witches how to be one and improve their lives drastically. Also, they have the ability to advance the field of magic in regards to healing in astronomical ways and possibly could save many lives, but the rules exist preventing this from happening. The philosophical battle going on in Witch Hat Atelier is very compelling. Also makes the Brimmed Caps very interesting antagonists. We saw in Oroigo's flashback where he nearly broke the rule to help a kid. He did an internal monologue saying that kids will face situations that brings them immense guilt, and we see that happening with the situation of Tartar and Coco not being able to tell the secrets of witches to Costas and thus not helping him in the best possible way. The moral dilemma that each faction experiences is really done well. The dogmatic nature of the Knights Morales targeting a child without question just because they wear a brim hat with the situation of Costas and etc. It's just done so well, and I just wanted to heap praise on this story because I really liked it. And if you haven't read this manga, I suggest you do right now because it is that good. If you made it this far into the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, and with that said, see you in the next one.